Hey, Beau.
Buddy, how are you?
Good. Welcome to my podcast.
Oh, dude, thank you for having me.
It only took me like a couple
Serious.
years to return the favor. I was a guest on yours like a while back, but we did it. We
Uh,
made it happen.
20, was it 22 or 23? I can't
Maybe
remember. It
23.
doesn't matter.
Point is we
But I'm
made it.
I'm glad
We
I'm
made it
here.
to the sequel episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I tell the story about why we're actually doing this? Because I really want to
Yeah.
share. You and I ran into each other at a conference.
Hmm.
We were listening to somebody on stage talk. There was maybe like over 100 people in the room, and it was a
Yeah.
very successful business person that had a crazy story. They had gone bankrupt. They had come back from the brink. It was like honestly a very dynamic, engaging speech. But they had said this
Right.
one part about being an insurance agent where they were like, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't actually particularly like insurance. I got no love for it. There's a lot of other things I could have done. I all I care about is this. I'm here to make money. Like that's why I own the
Mm.
agency. That's why I do insurance. Is I'm here to make money. That's the bottom line. And then talked about a bunch
Yeah.
of other businesses I have. And out of all of the people in the room, I went to the back of the room and I found you. And I was like, hey, I know I can confide in you because I know there's a lot of other agents in there too that I also could have had this conversation with.
Yeah.
But that of being like, hey, that didn't land with you, right? Like that didn't hit you in the heart either.
Mm-mm.
Like it is like super possible to care about your customer, feel pride in like what you do with this like nebulous product that only gets accessed if somebody's had one of the worst days of their life or whatever. Like that's when what we do comes into focus. It's actually possible to feel proud of that and
Yeah.
feel like you make your
Yeah.
community better and you make the people that you talk to better and make money alongside of it, and that it I just knew that you wouldn't resonate with it. So
Yeah.
that's and we're like we should keep talking about this. So how did it feel when you were listening in the conference alongside me when that
Well,
speaker was talking
I,
about
I
that?
recall it very similar what happened, but I also recall like you looking at me because I know you wanted to say something after I heard the line, and I didn't necessarily cringe. It's his life, but in my life, I don't think that is true. I love insurance, it sounds so corny to say, I trademarked we love insurance, but we love people more. That's the thought of like, I love insurance. When you love something, you know something, you understand what it can do for you, what you can do for it. And I looked at you and I was just like, from our conversations, I knew that you and I would be like this, we would align right away. And we did. And we just, you said something and I was like, yeah, I don't agree with that. And if you understand why I got into insurance, it was 100% about helping people because I knew I sold shoes and then I sold auto parts. I was in the corporate world. I mean, I sold them in the beginning, but I was a regional, multi-state leader, but like I didn't feel like they did as much for people as insurance does. And to say I don't like insurance, I like the money I make from it, just sounds, I don't know. That's not the kind of insurance agent I might want.
But it's a reason to jump on a podcast where there's two insurance agents, right? And we have our own
Yeah.
agencies, and we basically are just like, hey, we're gonna throw this 25 minutes out into the universe just to say there are a lot of us. There aren't just like a few of us. There's a lot of us.
Hmm.
There was a ton of agents in that room that I also know they were getting on stage and being like, wow, this is still kind of the American dream. Like I can have a low barrier to entry. I don't have to have a doctorate, I don't even necessarily have to have 4 years of college. I can care about people. I can have work-life balance. I can be there for my kids on the weekend. And yet, if I do this right, and that's like the big caveat. If I
You
do
were
this
right.
right, I care about like what the right coverage is for the right person, and I care about what they need in their life, and I ask questions, and I'm curious. Then I'm legitimately the work I do every day is buffering and creating like a protection for the things that people value most in life, and that's not it. It's corny, but it's important that you and I keep saying the corny shit out loud so that it doesn't fall to the wayside. And because what we're in competition with, Bo, is we're in competition with continual commoditization of all this stuff. Go to this app,
100%.
save money, save money, save money, save money, save money. That's all it is. And so there has to be people that say, I don't care if I'm cheesy or I sound too sentimental. This actually should still be a conversation with somebody that seems like they're asking you questions about your life and what you care about and trying to figure out how they would then protect you, and that actually is still like should be kind of sacred and something we and shouldn't just be about I'll get you a more competitive quote,
Yeah.
like just stay on the line,
Yeah.
you know.
I actually, you know, I have this quote that I quote a lot. Selling insurance is not about convincing. It's about educating. When you understand people's wants and needs, you can fulfill them. And that's actually how you sell insurance. So it's funny because I say that so much, it feels like a second nature, but it's true because, in sales, if you think sales are sales, then a lot of salesmen are just trying to convince you to buy something that they want you to buy. In our line of work, we should be trying to educate people based on what we've discovered or fact found through talking to them on what they actually need. And there's not a lot of people in our industry that do that, but those that do really stick out. And I think the industry has been, bogged down with a lot of big corporations, 1-800 numbers that say, what do you pay? Let me beat it. Here's one. What we just saved you $5 a month, and we slashed all your coverages down. But we're not going to tell you because you know why? It doesn't matter. You don't know. You're uneducated. So we're just going to convince you to buy this for $5 less. So when you come across people like you and some other people like you've talked about, insinuated, there's some people out there that I definitely, especially that room we were in, that conference was full of people that do care about insurance and their customers. Uh, and I think you can tend to find a safe place and identity within your career. And thank God I have a career that I feel like helps other people.
And I'm so glad you said that because it makes me think of this thing that my dad, because I was learning from my dad, who was an agent for a really long time. So it was that shame actually can be like really good in society. Like shame can be like have a really good purpose, right?
It could.
So not to get overly personal, but before we talked about an incident when we first met about where I felt like I
Hmm.
wasn't being fully authentic with you. And the word that I would use to describe how I felt when I realized like you and I didn't have such great interaction when we first met is I just felt shame and I could feel it in my
Mm.
cheeks. I could like
Wow.
feel it in my throat,
Yeah.
in my stomach. And why am I? And then there's a pivotal moment there. Like, do I get defensive? Do I explain? Do I fucking bail and ghost and whatever? Or do I just be like, I'm gonna sit in this shame and be like, is there something here to learn? Can we talk about this? Like, can we build like a friendship off of this like moment of sharing? So why am I saying this
Hmm.
now? Is when my dad moved to Florida from Indiana, where famously there's no hurricanes, to where there is hurricanes, and he
Right.
became an agent for the first time. He didn't properly understand some of the risks that could get all the way to where he was pretty far inland and where he was living, and a hurricane was coming for the first time. And it didn't hit, but for a moment, like when you're tracking hurricanes, that cone on a day-to-day basis looks like it could
Terrifying.
come one place or some other place. And he had shame and fear that what was going to happen is his very neighbors that he had just moved in and said, I'm a new insurance agent, I could cover, I can do this, that he was going to be on the receiving end of, why didn't you tell me about this flood insurance, or why didn't you tell me I should be covered for this? And he was like, okay, next 40 years never going to happen. Like that, I
Well,
felt the shame. I'm going to write as if I would never have that feeling again. Like I didn't
mm,
do, right? And here's the difference. What we're saying is what we're trying to compete about and talk about, and why it matters is because there's so many other people we know that are like, I'm just never going to talk to that person. They're going to go to a 1-800 number. Like I'm going to have all that automated. Like whatever happens, happens, but I'm not going to be on the
yeah.
receiving end of it. And I bet you still take upset customer calls. I had a customer call, and I want to hear, Beau, from you. I had a customer call 2 weeks ago who threatened to call 911 on me, and I'm not making this up. And I spent 30 minutes using all of the techniques I could think of to hear them, say back to them their situation, try to work out a solution, and figure out like, can we get this to a better place? It doesn't have to be a perfect place, but can we just get it to a better place because they're like really upset? And I was thinking about all the agents that would just be like, yeah, no, that's I haven't talked to somebody like that in 15 years. That goes, if it goes, doesn't go to one of my like customer service reps, it goes to like a 1-800 line, or we just let the policy like fall off. So I want to hear on your side the two things: one about how shame actually can have a place,
Yeah.
and then about the actually being there for a customer, thinking about them versus the 1-800 forwarding,
I,
number.
yeah. So well, one, let's start with the shame. So for me, what comes to mind first and foremost is not just shame, but like fear. Whenever I have shame, I'm fearful that I don't want to have shame again,
Mm,
right? I don't want it to repeat. So I've learned to be motivated by, instead of by fear, by love, or instead of by shame. And it's not like saying anybody's wrong, just me personally. I felt like when I get fearful, um, I tend to make decisions that are a little more desperate and I regret them.
mm,
Whereas if I make decisions based on the love of people, and I don't want them to go through a situation, and because I would be saying, yes, I will be shameful, but why would I be shameful? Well, because I put them at risk, or potentially even left them at risk. So I say, that's why it's weird how love is just like a constant theme in my life. Like, love God, I love my wife, love my kids. We love insurance, but we love people more. Be motivated by love, not fear. It tends to be what I lead my life with. Is love, and love is a hard thing to find genuine, right? Would you say that? Like, there's a lot of false love in the world. It could be lust, it could just be like, it could be whatever, right? But love is a hard thing to really find, and a lot of people replicate it, try to replicate it, but authenticity is probably at the core of what is the difference between love and false love is authenticity. And I think showing your customers that you truly love and care about them as if they were you. If I knew nothing about insurance, what would I want my agent to tell me? Not, don't make me feel good. Don't save me money. What do I need to hear today? It's like going to a doctor, Charlie, and the doctor says, I don't want to hurt your feelings, so I'm going to let you die. It's like, what? No, hurt my feelings. Tell me I'm out of shape. I'm obese. I eat like a pig. Tell me those things if it could save my life. If it could save me the shame, the fear, the loss. I want to know. And it's funny because the way that you and I are living our business is the way you live friendship. Isn't that how it should be? Humanizing insurance and sales is what I long to do. We're two humans interacting. That's what we are, right?
I think that yes. First off, big yes. I think that like love should almost be like if there's the book that you end up writing, because I don't think I knew that it was your slogan for your agency and that you had trademarked that, but I
Yeah,
think it's going to be very uncommon. I'm maybe just doing a lot of podcasts with people that inspire me and asking them questions and posting these for our socials and just trying to create an extra page of like if somebody's looking to potentially buy from my agency and they want to get a feeling for like what we value, what we care about, maybe they can watch some stuff and they'd be like, oh, okay, this seems like what
right.
they're about. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of other guests that are going to like just straight up be like, actually, love is a huge part about what we do. So it's
Yeah,
just like it's a very unique and cool, but like beautiful sentiment to kind of wrap around. And I would say friendship is a good way to talk about that, right? So like one of the things that I'm doing for my friends, and this is also on my socials that I'm really proud of, is figuring out like, okay, how do you bring back like a men's group, like old school men's group, when all my
hmm,
guy friends are not in LA where I live, like they're elsewhere. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
well, you just do what we're doing right now. Like you send out a link,
hmm,
you can see somebody's face, you can hear their laugh, and we just schedule some times, and then we like talk through how we're doing, and then what becomes important there is talking about love and talking about fear and being curious, and that way it goes beyond like the funny sports group text memes about whatever's happening in our lives, and it goes to like another step deeper, which is I have been sleeping well, or I'm getting caught in the same kind of argument or loop with my spouse, or I'm stressed about my business and I feel like maybe I don't know if something happens, what will I do next? And all of a sudden these are not conversations you can have through text, and you weren't having them with your friends even though you love them, just because you weren't creating a space for it. And so I think it is indicative of how you would say you would want to do insurance with a customer. Is it like, and my dad always said this, he always wanted to be somebody's like best friend on the phone call and think that he was talking to like his new best friend on that phone call. And I think it's because it would require you to listen. It would require you to be curious, and would require you to do the thing where we're going beyond a group text meme chat about sports now. And we are now actually
yeah.
going that thing that's really hard for a lot of people to do is we're going to take the step further, and it might get a little awkward or might get a little uncertain because we're going to talk about your life, and we're going to talk about what you own, and we're
Yeah,
going to talk about what you want, and we're going to try to. So I do think there's something there. I think that is not that there's something, there's absolutely something there that's really beautiful about love coming in as the North Star, and then everything else in the business model will end up making sense. It's like Jeff Bezos would have like if you take care of the customer, everything else is going to like work out, right? But what you don't hear a lot of is like, okay, is the customer happy? Then we're going to be like, what if you actually have love as your like listed mission purpose statement? Like,
you know
do you
what?
come across a lot of people that are throwing around love when they talk about their,
No,
credo or their
work.
business mission purpose statement?
No, no. But do you know what you made me think of a little bit while you were talking is sometimes people want to put out in the world what they've maybe wanted the most. So I like to feel loved. So how can I feel loved if I don't love? And I think a lot of people get confused in this world, and I don't mean to go so deep, but like people are like, I don't make a lot of friends very easy, but they don't actually try to make conversations and ask great questions to other people, and they wonder why they don't have a lot of friends or connections. It's, if you're always waiting for somebody else to do what you long for, maybe it's time for you to step up and do it. Meaning, if you're longing to be loved, show love. If you're longing for somebody to make friends with you, make friends with other people. If you're longing for, food, give food. If you're longing for money, give more money. So I think we always think like I should preserve my love, my money, my time, my friendships versus be so giving or loving with them. And I do think, yes, I do preserve my close circle, but like, I, I do, I do try to show it. It's just how close do you let somebody get to love, right? Is there's varying layers. I think in America we think of in English language we really have one word for love and it's love. So like how much do you love somebody? Like can you describe that? It's super hard to say. Is once you love somebody or something, is it just like all the same? I think there's varying levels,
For sure.
of
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
but like I can genuinely say I love my wife more 20 years later than I did 20 years ago.
Well, that we have to
It's
clip. I gotta clip that for you and send it to her like immediately.
Thank you. I probably need that
How do
after being
you,
such a
Bo, how do
diva.
you, so from a standpoint of like, okay, you and I are both like,
Yeah.
we both believe that you have to take care of yourself and that your like limit of how much you can love somebody else in your life, your wife, your kids, whatever it is, the limit is whether or not you take care of yourself and if you have any love and acceptance for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, how do you feel like you translate that into I'm hiring employees who I also want to talk to my customers with the same idea of caring about them like that I think is tricky like one
Yeah.
there's a million self-help books there's a million books on how to
Right.
make your relationships your friendships stronger your marriage stronger but like if you're saying this idea of like well I actually think one of my superpowers is I actually want to bring love and how I would want you to be taken care of the same way I take care of myself when it comes to taking care of somebody in your like Monday to Friday business life
Mm-hmm.
that means from a leadership standpoint you got to get like buy-in or you have to have some way of like figuring out whether or not
Yeah.
when you bring somebody onto your team do they get that or not like that would find super curious how you've been working on that or developed
Mm-hmm.
that part.
Yeah. I mean, well, so I do believe first and foremost, and it's not just a corny line. It's true. You do attract who you are.
Mm,
So the people that you're surrounded with, you've attracted them in your agency and in your life. And if you have a problem with them, maybe there's a problem with you. And that's one of the biggest things I like to talk about with leaders is that what if you're the problem? Can you handle that, Charlie? What if you are the problem? What if it's not everybody around you? What if it's actually you? What if it's not the people you hire? What if it's you? What if it's not the way you interview? What if it's you? What if they're the reason they don't retain training is because of you? What if your customers always get frustrated because of you? So that's the hardest thing for people in life to actually deal with is themselves. Would you agree? We have this tendency to look external versus internal. And if you want to improve, you have to look internal. And in my agency, we struggled for a while finding the right people. And I had to, and instead of saying, oh, bad hire, oh, people don't want to work nowadays, I started thinking, what's the problem and how can I fix it? And let me start internally in my life, in my doing, and inside of my agency. How do I start there? And I figured out there was three. I used to say there's two C's, and now I'm at three C's. Uh, do they fit my culture? Do they fit my career development plan and path? And do they fit my compensation? Can I afford them? Can they afford to work for me? Is this lucrative for them? Is it not? So it is extremely important if you want an employee, a team member, to take great care of a customer. There's a couple things that have to happen. One, you got to find them. You have to find the right person. So when I talk to people about culture, it's like, what kind of culture do you like to be in? Or would you describe yourself as half full, half empty? If I was to tell you, Charlie, that you stop, you did something wrong, how would you respond? are you coachable, right? Because within the culture, we're a culture that's very uplifting. We are very, I'm very, listen, I make it so easy, I think, for somebody to either be turned off or excited to work for me. And I say things like this. Um, if you don't like to sell, this is a sales position and you know this and you're questioning it, please don't work for me. If you are a half empty, negative person and you like to gossip, you're going to hate working here. So do not work for me. And I end interviews like this with these. I have like 5 statements that I read off at the end. Because why? I know I'm a passionate person. I can get people excited about a vision. That's a strength of mine. I recognize that. So when I get really excited in an interview and I'm talking about it, I can get people really excited and they think they might want to work here. And my thought is, one, I have to qualify them, but they also have to qualify me. But if I'm being honest with them, and there's a lot of agents, they attract who they are. They lie. They lead people on in interviews thinking like, hey man, you're going to come in here and make a lot of money. And what they're leading people to believe they can sell as much as their agencies actually sell for one person or have never sold in the whole time they've been an agency. So, qualifying people within those three: culture, career development path, and compensation is huge. And we have questions lined up to make sure that they fit. And when people are getting excited and they're responding well in the interview, it makes me excited about, okay, they're coachable. They get excited when I speak. Um, and I speak a lot, Charlie, if you haven't noticed. So I am Mr. Rah, rah, rah. If you're not going to be inspired by me or my leaders that are rah, rah, rah positive with a lot of training, you're going to hate it here. So I want you
But
to
I
stop
like
right
where
now.
you end it though. And yeah, we're running out of time, so let's end on this. I
Yeah.
like where it's you are raw, 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 sure, but you also said the key to that, which I'm going to say again to like, put a bow on the whole conversation, which I did not mean to do that as a pun, but we're going to keep that in. We're going to
Oh,
keep it in.
Vincent.
Um, so it reminds me of like what you're describing kind of reminds me of like a really good first date in the sense that
Mm,
the energy is going to be good. You're going to show up. You're going to be present. You're going to be curious. You're going to ask questions. You're going to want them to ask questions of you. And this is how we know we're on a good first date, right? But what you said is at the end, you have 5 statements that you make. And the reason I give the dating equivalent is because that's how dating ideally, like good dates go when you're serious and you're looking for like to get married, you're looking to like start a family, you're looking to like lock in
hmm
on like one relationship, is that you would get to the end and you'd be like, okay, I want to get married.
hmm
FYI, I'm allergic to dogs. I want to have 2 kids, or I never want to have kids. I have always, always, always planned on moving back to this town in
Yeah.
Florida when I get to this age so I can be closer to my parents, whatever it is. So I know the energy's good. I want to fall in love. I want to do stuff. But if I just said any of these 5 things that you're like, oh shit, no,
Turn off.
right, that's not going to work. And so I feel like there's something there, and I almost want
The,
you to do this on your socials. Like I want, if you haven't
yeah.
already, like the clip of like, here are the
Huh.
5 things that Bo
Yeah.
says at the end of the
I,
thing,
I
to ground
can.
it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
most people understand the interview is a sale, so they try to close the sale at the end. Whether make a job offer, let that person know I'm going to hire you, whatever it is. They try to close it like that. I do the opposite. I'm like giving you every chance to, if I offer you this job, to say no, because I'm going to revisit all these things we talk about. And I am a man of my word, and I really pride myself on trying to be a man of my word. So if I tell you we're going to do it, we're probably going to do it. So I want people to see that also. Wow, Bo said this in the interview and he actually followed through with it. So I think, you know what I think about this? I think what you're doing here on this platform is awesome. I like to take chances to give praise in public. I have a saying: praise in public, reprimand in private. Charlie, you are really good at what you do. You are a great communicator. You are an authentic communicator. I think people feel comfortable around you. They do. This is
This is a
why I
heart I'm
liked
doing
you.
right there.
This is why I liked you when I first met you, is because I think that you just make people feel good about themselves. And listen, it's okay to make everybody feel good about themselves. There's nothing ever wrong with that, ever. So I think the biggest investment, most important investment in life we can make is in other people, and ourselves,
Completely
right? I
agree.
mean, I have to be
Both, that they
very,
become intrinsically tied to each other, right? If
when
the
I am
most loving thing I can
improving,
do for my
yeah,
wife is exactly
is
is
be the best
I
version of
keep
me,
taking care of
right?
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
that best version. So, I want to leave you. I know we're running out of time. I want to leave you with this. My buddy, brother-in-law told me, he's like, people are so focused on being a better leader, better salesperson, better employee. Why don't they just focus on being a better person? And it almost always feeds those other areas. So improving yourself as a person. And what does that mean? I mean, becoming less selfish, being more selfless, being more loving, being more authentic, having two ears, one mouth, which is something I have to work on a lot, you know?
Same.
So still
Same.
do.
It's why I have a podcast, right? Because I love talking.
Yep,
It's the same.
me
We
too. And
forgot
we
one
talked,
thing that we got to hit, but
yeah.
you got to go
What
soon.
is
So we
it?
got to hit this, and then
No,
we
go
got to
ahead.
end.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to hit this because we forgot. It was this idea about money, and you had asked this when we were like doing our pre-setup before we hit record,
Yeah.
and we were talking about how it can be a little hypocritical to basically be like, oh, that guy on stage is wrong. It's not all about money. It's about
Money.
love and it's about heart and
Hmm.
everything. The truth is, we kind of have to still be
We need
grounded
money.
somewhere that a certain
Yeah.
amount of money makes a huge
Yeah.
difference in people's lives, and we sound like idiots if we don't acknowledge that there is a certain amount of what it means to live in a very expensive country, where there's a lot of inequality, to be like, wait, there is a certain amount that we're talking about. And so I know you were curious what my response would be to that, and my basic
Yeah.
answer is just acknowledge that truth, acknowledge that there's a certain truth to a livable income and a living wage and what it means
Right.
to have a certain amount of money coming in, and that when I target this idea of it's not all about money or it doesn't have to be all about money, it is only ever going after the people. And a lot of people in that room we were with were millionaires making millions of dollars,
Yeah.
and it was like,
Right.
yo, you are already so far above that game will never satisfy. Like if you're
Never.
worth millions of dollars and you're like saying, I need this thing to be more profitable, there is no end game. Like it's just not going to happen because there's always another thing you can do with that money, and there has to be a reckoning with that. But on the lower end, we just know that there's certain milestones and certain numbers to have to get to, depending on especially where you live, that make massive difference about how much time you have back in your life, how much anxiety can go down. So I think that's the answer I would have for you, is it does actually matter, the context, you know?
Oh, it does. It does. And I think it's actually slightly disrespectful to say money doesn't matter when you have money. And
Yep.
that's the other side. Is like, you and I have been blessed through some successes in life, and to say money doesn't matter, we need money as a tool. I want my family to have an abundance of certain things in their life, and I work really hard, and it's not just for money. It's actually for other things than money. And I'll tell you this because I'm glad, because you're helping. I'm helping you wrap up.
This is the perfect
I'm
ending
well
spot. Yeah,
beyond.
land the plane for me, Bo.
Okay. So there's three levels of motivation, and I've went through them in life. The first stages were survival, and that was a great motivation. Is I need to provide, I need to make my payments for the house. The second level is success. This is what I thought a successful person would make. Successful person makes this, has this kind of house, drives this kind of car, impacts this many people. And the last one was fulfillment, which is where you feel like you were made to be, what you feel like you were made to do, and that is a different level. Like, let me be very clear. I've taken care of survival success alongside of fulfillment, but fulfillment has been the most rewarding level I've ever been at, because to feel like I was made to be a great leader of leaders is very humbling, but it's where I found my like niche, my area, my jam, my love is I love leading leaders. And I feel very called to it. And I feel like I'm in the right spot. And I've spent a lot of time, effort, and even money on becoming a greater leader. But it all started with me focusing on wanting to grow myself. And it ended up as being a great leader. So, a better leader. I can't call myself great. I think so other people could do it for me. But thank you, man. Like what you're
Let's
doing
go.
is
Let's go,
phenomenal.
baby. Plane
Yeah.
landed. We did it.
What
Thank you
you're
for
doing
making
is
time and
phenomenal.
just like us talking openly and trying to put, like I said, if all we did was just put two more voices out there alongside some of the stereotypes in our industry that you and I don't agree with, that for me is like an afternoon well spent. So I really appreciate you both. Thank you for doing this.
Dude, you're the best. Thank you. Appreciate you sharing your platform with me.
We'll do it again. All right. Bye,
Likewise.
Bo.
Yep.